treat yourself like you're your own best friend.
Mm.
I've found that when we are alone and by ourselves, which is what alone means, and a lot of us had a lot of alone time these days, and during COVID time, that we have a tendency to become very introspective, and we think about our lives and how we've been living and what we've been doing, and we have a tendency as we review a lot of things to become a little, well, shall we say, self-critical, you know, and consequently we can be down on ourselves, and sometimes in like a pushy way, or not even or a negative way, and my sense is that uh, it's easy to do. I find myself doing it from time to time as well. So I developed this little trick, and basically it works this way. I think about, if this is happening to my best friend, whatever I was thinking or feeling or whatever had happened to me, or my best friend was feeling about themselves the way I was feeling. Say I'm down on myself. I didn't say or do or finish something the way I wanted to, and I was really into it. And if that happened to my best friend, would I treat him or her that way? And the answer is, of course not. You know, why would I do that? I'd be encouraging, supportive, um, you know, and listening to what they're saying, and trying to see things in a slightly different way to give them an opportunity to perhaps see themselves in a more, or in a brighter light. So the trick I use, and I would recommend to anybody out there to give it a try, nothing wrong with a little bit of an experiment to try this, is just to try and be your own best friend for a while. If you're into a process where you're doing some self work, so trying to improve your consciousness and the way that you see the world, uh, think about listening to it as if your best friend were, this was happening to your best friend. So it does two things. One, when it disassociates you from yourself in that moment, but not your memories, so you're not so emotionally attached to them. And secondly, it allows you to listen to yourself a little more deeply. And well, there's other than just the two. There's also the aspect where you can then be more empathetic towards yourself, because you're always empathetic towards your friends, aren't you? So, or at least more empathetic towards your friends than you are for yourself. Some of us are direct with everybody, but under the circumstances, uh, by treating your best friend in that way, in a compassionate way, in a kind way, in an empathetic way, you not only help them solve the problem, you also help them in their emotional body and their emotional evolution. So think about that for yourself. It's not a big move. It's a little trick that you can try once in a while, and you don't have to do it every time, But once you start doing it, after a while, it becomes kind of second nature. So you lighten up on yourself. You don't sit there knocking yourself every time, you didn't do something. Or, you don't become, you don't fall into the disease of coulda, woulda, shoulda. Oh, I coulda, shoulda, woulda done that. Instead, you turn around and you go, well, that's an interesting thing that happened. So A, what's the lesson? B, what's the worst case scenario? And D, and all the other letters in the alphabet. Who really gives a darn? 100 years from now, what difference is it going to make? And that's not to be glib. It's to be honest with yourself, to say, by doing these things, you can treat yourself kinder and more generously in the moment. And consequently, it enables you to move ahead with your life with far less stress and a lot more confidence. So that's my 1 minute miracle
Okay,
uh,
thank you.
sharing
So,
today, I guess.
thank you, Dave. So
Welcome.
whenever you like to start to go on trends, then I will start asking the questions.
Okay, I'll go into trance now. I'll go into deep trance, and you guys, I'll be happy to answer your questions, everybody, and
We're
we'll
really
see
grateful.
how it goes. I'll leave it in your capable hands now. Okay. It's my dog over there making little dog noises. She's getting all excited. I want to go into trance. Okay, here we go. Yes, we're here now. How may we be of service at this time?
Hi, can you balance, Dave?
Yes, one moment. Yes, this is in effect with the agreement of the entity, David. Well, we welcome you here and your questions. You may now proceed as you wish. Yeah.
Thank you. So there's a lovely question about how this planet or this Earth has been created, and how's it relating to the universe, life on other planets, galaxy, and how were souls being selected? I mean, how did we decided to come on the Earth and evolve, and that kind of awakening questions. Thank you.
This is one question?
Yeah, I mean,
You
that was
just want to know about everything.
sorry.
Well, here we would say all of these things. I just have to understand the nature of this is part of your journey on life. That's why you come into life from the third, from the fifth and higher dimensions, to come onto the third dimension, to have this physical experience, to be able to clear all of the kind of experiences that you're here to have. To talk about the creation of all of these things is a different matter. There is only one mind, one sense of creation, and that is it. And you are part of it, and it is infinite. No beginning, no end. Kind of like a Mobius strip. You're always on top of it. There's only one side to it, even though there appears to be more. And the side that is on it is the side that you are living in that moment. You see? So you want to talk about the physical creation of things? You would understand here that this comes through that sense of what would be referred to as of mind. All is mind. Not like the mind you would think, oh, I have a mind to do things. But mind is that which has created all that is, held within the singular creative process of beingness. You know, to try and put these things into physical words is not an easy thing, because sometimes it just sounds like gibberish, you see, and other times it sounds pseudoscientific. But all that is drawn together by that which would be referred to as of the law of attraction. Those things that are drawn towards each other in order to form matter. As you might understand, the very nature of physical creation is made of, as you have already ascertained, atoms. And atoms are made from subatomic particles. And studying of these things now draws not just a philosophical process, but an understanding that if atoms are made of things, how could they be made of things smaller than them? Because atoms are, by definition, the smallest item in your universe. In other words, what you're talking about is for an atom to exist in its own native state, it has to have a vibrational level. And in actual fact, as the atoms are being studied more and more, it is the vibrational level of the atoms that actually brings physicality into existence, literally out of no thing. You might say the universe is made of atoms, but atoms are only formed when they are attracted to each other to create the physical manifestation of their process. And the physical actually only matters for an nth of a percentage of all that is. The rest is space. But what is contained in space? Is space a thing? Is it an emptiness? Well, it is both and neither. All that you see and observe around you, you might refer to as a hologram. Hologram being that which is perceived by the conscious mind that appears to be real about itself. That's what you hold on this earth right now. Each of you has an observation of the hologram of the planet, the hologram of of all that exists herein that allows you to survive, to breathe, to gain the oxygen and nutrients necessary just to allow you to function, you see. And it is this that comes from a cycle of energy exchange on the atomic level. All the food you eat is atomic based. It is all made of atoms and energy. And your body absorbs parts of it, and as you well know, eliminates other parts of it. And the eliminations then go into the creation of other things. It continues in this way, infinitely. So that which you're observing on this plane is, in fact, a physical representation of infinity. Giving thought in this way, then you would say, how can I picture infinity? Here is a good way to think about it. Wherever you are is the center of infinity, because it is your consciousness in that moment, in that millisecond, in that nanosecond, that observes everything around you, going in all directions. 180 plus 180, making 360 degrees, then making a complete circle and globe and expanding exponentially outside from yourself into infinity. Therefore, your consciousness must be the center of infinity. So it makes no difference where you are always at the core of life and being through your conscious existence on this physical plane. When you step outside of the physical plane, you step into a larger understanding of the life process itself, that which is outside of physical. It is above the fourth dimension, yes, which is the astral plane, yes, and into the fifth dimension and above. Each dimension higher having a finer vibrational tone. The existence of all on your plane is from a vibration and resonance and the energy that holds, that is created through their existence. This is the very nature of what that be referred to as Tesla spoke, and how he understood the nature of electricity, being that electricity is the actual force of creation itself. All of what you do with Qigong, for example, is just a movement of energy, bioelectro energy. Each of you holds enough bioelectric energy to light a city for a week. Isn't that interesting? If it was dispersed properly, we say with a smile. But here, when you realize that, that's still a finite amount in an infinite universe, meaning it actually took you, as an individual, a certain state of consciousness to bring into beingness the two cells that came together when you were initially created, that then created a multi-celled being, you, after a 9-month gestation period. Coming onto the physical involved the consciousness, the mind that gets set into beingness once these cells are joined. And this is the beginning of the world of duality in which you live in the third dimension. Once these come together in this way, you then have this option and understanding to see that what you are doing in that moment is actually expanding into the world around you and drawing forces towards your consciousness. And literally, you are acting as the electromagnetic core and center, your consciousness of your body and your place on the planet as part of the thought process or consciousness of the great mind of which you are a part of and apart from at the same time in the same instant. So it is these things here you would begin to think about in relationship to understanding your place in the universe and about creation itself. When you step outside of the physical, you step into the bounds of beyond time and space. And in that place, there is only now, there is only the moment, there is only that reality. But the purpose of the physical existence is for your vibrational energy to enter onto the physical and then have its ability to set its tone and resonate on the physical plane, to be part of what you might call the orchestra of life, or the music of life, or the sound of the cosmos. You're all part of it. You're all part and parcel of the energies that be. And as a result of it, you hold and resonate within yourselves a specific vibrational tone, a specific consciousness, and a specific view of the world from where you are at in any given moment. So your consciousness, your reality that you're dealing with in this way is in fact brought forward into the now. And it is in this time, any given time, that you are aware of this, that you have an opportunity to gain the greater comprehension of that which is, that which you may call great mystery. And then explaining all of this is only simplistic in the way that we are giving it to you. Because, you see, we can only explain it in third dimensional terms with third dimensional references. We cannot reference outside of third dimension because the source for that comes from within the third dimension, the world of duality. You see? So when you come to answer this gigantic question that you have asked, the best answer to it is listen to what we have said and then sit down and let go of the need to hold on to the thoughts or the core of that which you are thinking. You are thinking nevertheless. When you let go of the need to hold on to the thoughts, then you fill with the answers. The answers become a natural part of your beingness. And you too will be able to release yourself from boredom, from fear, from prejudice, from hatred, and the negative aspects that come to you on the physical plane. For you are here to do two things. You are here to make choices, and you are here to have an emotional experience. And it is the emotional experience you wish to have is what you choose first. That is why you would say some people are happy people, other people are unhappy or dour people. Other people are fearful, other people are hateful, other people are driven by the desire to have what they don't have. The emotions continue to expand out exponentially. But it's always your choice to decide how you want to feel in any given moment. So again, it sounds simple, but practicing is the hard part. Thinking about it is the part that creates the sense here of conscious awareness. And it is out of that conscious awareness that you develop your own view of the universe itself. And then, of course, you realize you are viewing yourself because you are the universe that is explicit within you in your consciousness, seeing itself from the inside out through your eyes, which is the gift that you have. Every time you see things or you hold a vision, it is through your consciousness that is a creation of the universe, of which you are not apart from, but a part of. You see?
Thank you. That's wonderful. So there's a question about which part of the planet is a place that is good to move to, right?
Well, just realize the planet's always changing. You would say, oh, move out to the western part of Canada. You will be safe there. But now they're starting to have earthquakes there. The earth is shifting there. The crust is beginning to move. As there is more ice that is melting in the north and southern hemispheres and coming into the oceans and raising the level of water along the coastlines. Also, the pressure on the earth from this huge quadrillions of tons of ice and energy pushing down is being released. So as a result, it is coming away. And the earth itself is having a pressure taken off of it. And the core and the earth itself have not always turned at the same speed. So what this is doing by having it removed, the weight down, the extra weight on it was pushing down and keeping the core and the surface of the earth tighter in its revolution. Now, as it melts, the earth begins to move behind the turning of the core itself. So consequently, you would say due north, which was the North Pole, as you would understand it, has moved all the way into Siberia over the last 20 years. Airports are beginning to have to repaint their runways in order to align with true north again, so that they have the right angle of approach when they're looking at the refer of compasses. So that means that the Earth itself is shifting. Hence, you are noting now earthquakes in places that you did not know. Underwater earthquakes, particularly, because again, with the extra water pressure there, it is squashing there and releasing further north. You will see more earthquakes, and particularly volcanic activity, coming up into northern areas such as Alaska, northern British Columbia, and areas of this nature here, which is part of the Pacific Rim. This is very interesting the way that you would note this. It is taking place a lot faster than you would anticipate. So where is a safe place to go and live? You say, let's go and live in Vancouver. It's good there. However, at this moment in time, there are major earthquakes that are happening just off of the coast of Vancouver Island and the inland islands as well, or the in-water islands, Salt Spring Island and the other ones that are in this areas here. So they're being affected by what will eventually be a very major tsunami coming in from this coast. So the west coast isn't so good. The east coast, on the other hand, what is happening is that the oceans are raising very quickly now. And over the next 20 to 30 years, you're going to find that the coasts are being covered more and more by water that's come from the glaciers at both ends of the earth. It has nowhere else to go. And it continues to go on like this as the earth changes in this way. What we would suggest is don't worry about the safest place to be on the surface of the earth. Realize that living in Canada is a good place to be. It's temperate. You're not in the area where you're going to be in the what you might call the heat belt, which is where all of the major storms seem to occur around these Pacific latitudes. And you would see here that here it is important for you to understand here that it is rising a bit further north, but not past the northern states. And it will not, because the Earth is not coming off its axis. It's holding the same angle on the axis. It's just that the Earth itself is turning, the internal core is turning faster than the outside. So the outside is slipping back, which is why the North Pole is going into that view of Siberia, because the iron core is still solid with its due north. There have been changes also noted here of a couple of difficulties with what you would refer of reversal of the poles. But you were a good 3,000 to 4,000 years away from that right now. But it is imminent in your future to occur in this way. So from this, you would say, where is the best place to live? You would say, wherever you feel comfortable. On the planet, it is a living being. It's always changing. It's always shifting. If you go into the western areas, into what you call the prairies, the reason it is so flat is because it was the bottom of an ocean for millennia. See, the reason that the mountains are at the edge of the continents is because the Earth crushed, broke, and pushed up. They grew up from the flat plains as the Earth began to shrink and the tectonic plates began to move around into each other. There's plenty that you can read about this if you're looking at your switches, but do be aware that much of this is coming in the near future, some of it within your own lifetime, particularly the beginning of a cooling of the Earth, not just a warming of the Earth as you see. Maybe another 10 to 15 years of warming, and then there will suddenly be a very quick reversal of it. And you will find, because of the way the Earth has moved and the way that the prevailing winds have changed with the shifting of the Earth's surface, that it will start to carry cold down from the northern regions more and begin to create what you might even call a mini ice age. So for those in your 50s and 60s at this moment in time, don't worry about it too much. You probably won't live to see it. But for those of you who are in your 20s and 30s, better go and get some warm clothes. See, for later in life, shall we say? It is these things to pay attention to. So, where is the best place to live? Right where you are right now. You cannot base yourself on what is going to happen. You must base what you are doing on what is happening. And right now, what is primary on your planet is not where to be physically, but where to be socially, as the human race has reached a critical point in its evolution and its development. Your planet cannot take any more people on the planet than it is currently holding, but the population is continuing to grow. Consequently, the conscious mind of what is called Earth or Gaia is beginning to create upon its surface conditions that are not so great for existence for human beings. This is because it comes into a natural evolution of the Earth finding its own balancing and levels in this way. Whenever there is an overpopulation on the Earth, Mother Nature, if you want to use the term, comes along and corrects it a bit. So it is these things to keep in mind in this way. You're okay now. The best thing to do is to learn how to get along with each other, cooperate, be happy, stop partisan belief systems from controlling you and destroying your world, and start moving towards your own personal growth and to ensure that you have a decent and positive life that develops for you in this way. It is simply put and easily followed once you begin to understand the nature of it and how it can be demonstrated. So this is what we would say to you in this way about where to live. It's not just as simple as to say, you know, it would be really nice to move to Arizona. It is true. Move to where you like. Move to where the weather is nice right now. Move to a place, if you like living in the mountains, move to the mountains. If you want to live by the ocean, live by the ocean. That's what you have choice for here. Not to live in fear of what might happen, but to live in joy with what you are doing in the moment. Now, that's not to say you should go and build your house on the flat area at the delta at the end of a river that floods every spring. You understand? Common sense is natural. But the larger movements of the Earth does move slowly enough for you to have time to, shall we say, protect yourselves as well. So this is what we would say at this time. And the Earth has many, many, many billions of years to go before it is time for it to be recycled itself. So what is important is what you are doing now, here. And that means not only the evolution of your own soul, but the evolution of the souls of all who come by and through the physical existence on this planet in this way. So mass communication was invented back around the time of the Gutenberg press in the 16th century, when moving type revolutionized communication in those days. It was like the computer of the day, you see. Hand-set symbols meant mass production of literature. Newspapers and things of this nature meant to share information. Because as in any society, information is the best commodity. It's invisible in that sense that it's not something that you can see, but it's something you can act with and do with, because it's telling you about what's going on in the world around you, you see. That which is today now, what can you do about this? And the answer is plenty. First of all, get off social media. You see, social media has become a pariah in your society. People use it to manipulate each other, to criticize each other, to harm each other and hurt each other. They use it to control each other, particularly by dispelling lies and propaganda on an ongoing basis, particularly ones that are supposedly be for family usage. All of these things here are, in essence, taking a process and creating a sense of dissatisfaction across the boards. The more that people are dissatisfied, you see, the more they become stressed, the more anxious they become. And the more anxious they become, interestingly, the easier they are to manipulate, because they're not focusing on their lives, they're focusing on an imaginary enemy, an imaginary fear. And don't forget, the word fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. There is so much of that that's available through social media. The truth is for you in this way, again, it is a matter of beginning to reestablish your own belief about yourself. There's a certain point to which the media can be used and will tell you the truth. They'll tell you if there was a car accident. They'll tell you if somebody won the lottery. But they won't tell you if a war was started unless it's going to be beneficial to all concerned. Or they'll tell you a war started that never did, because they can say whatever they want. There's no way for you to check outside of their sources. And this is where the power and the strength of the media is at question at this moment in time. And it's not just the media, it's those who provide the information to the media. Don't forget, business, politics, the military, they all have major ways to, shall we say, compromise the information they release to the media. And in fact, control the media too, particularly the banking circles, as you would understand them in this way. So it is these kind of things to take a look at and say, looking at this kind of thing, understand that you live in an unfree and restricted social democracy. And democracy we use loosely. But you do have choices living, and we're talking about Canada, not the United States, or too many other countries in the world. You live in a country that has some rare gifts for the people who are here. But even those who are here to enjoy the gifts of freedom and free thinking are being invaded by those who would complain and criticize these beliefs to make those who hold them unhappy and dissatisfied. And the more unhappy and dissatisfied you become, the easier you are to manipulate. You see, because when people are unhappy, they look for other unhappy people, for other people feeling victimized. So consequently, it is victimhood that draws people together. Oh, or he's just like me. He's being victimized. She's just like them. They're all being victimized. And as a result of this, victimization then becomes the new way of communicating, the new thing that holds people together. But in actual fact, victimization doesn't hold you together. It only reinforces the sense of victimhood that the individuals are experiencing. You see? So consequently, people are, again, being left out in the cold, thinking they're belonging to something. But those things that give you information, that give you things to complain about, never offer solutions. They never offer alternatives. They never suggest as to how that can be rectified, ever. The only time you know if you're listening to something genuine, if somebody is trying to bring a point in, is if they bring an alternative in. We try to bring alternatives into our information by telling people to think for themselves and then giving viable, real ways of practicing these things. The more you practice these things about self-awareness, about self-belief, and about self-confidence, the easier it is for you to make decisions based on your real needs, not the imagined needs of other people who you are parroting their belief systems because they're complaining and acting like the victim you feel like in your life. Now, we're not saying you do personally, you understand. It is more like the royal you or we that we're talking about here, but it is how the majority of people are manipulated. And it's most important that when you begin to realize that, who are you going to fight? There is no one to fight. There's only someone to heal, and that's yourself. Once you heal yourself from being a victim of the gravity, of the emotional gravity, of the propaganda gravity that's brought into your social order, the easier it is for you to begin to move forward. Because the big secret is there's a whole lot more of you than there are of them, whoever they are. There's a small number of people who try to manage your world and always have done. They always have to kowtow to the majority once the majority reach a certain level of consciousness, which is what was happening until your COVID arrived. Now that the COVID has arrived, it's a perfect foil for getting people to work together, yes, but to do what? To follow orders, to report on each other, and to keep restricted and anxious. So consequently, you're looking for answers that you receive from sources that are not so reliable as you would have wished them to be. So again, this is some of the things that happen with you. So we're not saying this is an unreal condition. We're not saying any of those things. We're simply saying the manner in which it's being managed at this moment in time is not to humanity's best interest at this moment in time. Only the interest of a very limited number of people who wish to remain in control and are basically at this moment in time utilizing media and governmental sources and what they call medical science to control the world. Discounting your own needs, discounting other information, discounting the capacity for the individual to make quantitative decisions to help the world, not just themselves, move forward. So there's a lot of things here in this state here, in this condition, that need to be given consideration as well. And again, not to rebel against them, but to grow within yourself. The more you come to believe in yourself, the easier it is to function in the world around you in a positive and proactive way. So you're not controlled by others, and you don't want to control others. You just want to take charge and lead the life you choose to live. See? The major movement at this moment in time is, again, this aspect of understanding the need to take charge of your life, to let go of control. Controlling is a very negative thing. It makes you feel that you don't have to be responsible for yourself because you are too busy controlling things for somebody else. So it gives you a sense of accomplishment, but you're not changing anything for yourself. And most people who are spending a lot of time controlling others, might call them control freaks, yes, are very unflexible. And they have great difficulty just making decisions about what they should or shouldn't do. They have no difficulty telling other people, but for them, it's different. So the best thing to do is to act as if you're in charge. You see, because when you're in control, you have one choice. That's to be in control. That's to hold the upper hand, to push things through, to make sure that everything is, as we would say, in hand. You have one choice, and that's to stay there or to get back there. So at first, when you feel like you're out of control, you try to stay there, and eventually you find out you can't stay there. You have to jump off, and then you use all of your power and energy to try and get back into control. So until when you're finally back in control, there you are, and you've increased your stress. You've increased your worry. It creates extra physical stress, not just emotional stress, on your body. But when you're, and you only, as we say, you only have one choice, and that's to get into control, keep in control or get back into control. When you're in charge, you have an infinite number of decisions because it opens you up to an aspect of changing items by choice, by choosing to do different things in different ways, you see. So the next time you feel that you are stuck somewhere, that you are feeling angry or sad or jealous or fearful or victimized, just stop in the middle of it. Just take a second, just take a little time out. Step back and say to yourself, just a second here. I forgot that I'm in charge. Because in truth, you're not in control of anything. Those of you with children certainly know that. So the fact of the matter is, when you say, I'm taking charge now, then you go into a state where you can be in a more creative state of consciousness and have an infinite number of choices to move ahead in your life. You no longer feel like you were stuck in one place. So that's the important thing to note here. Being in control versus being in charge. You want to be in charge. You don't need to be in control of anything, really. Controls are made to do one thing, and if they're not doing it, then you're out of control. That's the way it is. So keep that in mind. You don't always have to fix things when you're in charge. What you do is it puts you into a place where you become far more flexible in your ability to make positive and conclusive decisions. So that's what we would leave you with here today regarding these matters. And also to each one of you with the continuing pressure of the media's ongoing onslaught regarding vaccinations, regarding having to bow down and kowtow to all of the things that you're being driven towards supporting. Use your own in sense, we would say common sense. Look at things and ask yourself questions, and look at things and say, I do what I want to do, not what I'm told to do. Because I'm the one that has final choice of all that I do. And if I want to do what everybody else does, that's my choice. But if I want to do something different, that's my choice as well. So just keep that in mind. Do not allow yourself to be controlled. It's not solving anything for anybody. And at the end of the day, it's not going to solve or eradicate COVID itself, nor the vaccines. It is a matter of rounding it up and keeping it away from you and others like you. And you do that just by washing your hands, and if you like, keeping your face covered. Not many of you have had any colds or flus this year at all, never mind COVID. So there's something to be said for keeping your hands clean and covering your face. You see? It always makes sense. That's why Mom always said, wash your hands before you eat and get your fingers out of your mouth. See? So that's what we would say at this time. So we're complete here.
Thank you.
And have fun out there. Life is meant to be played in and with, not to be feared, and certainly not to be controlled within. See? Yes. So we thank you for this opportunity to provide information at this time, and ask that you would go in peace, love, joy, and harmony, and to continue to walk on the path of the masters. We send you great blessings here, and we release the farm.